I'm going to share with you our experience in the last 12 months, how to deploy and from scratch, from zero, NSO and automate some of the services and network activities. To begin with, short introduction, so you understand Telefonica is a big company in Spain, is the incumbent operator, but Telefonica International Wholesale Group is a small one. It's like 1,000 people, sales, pre-sales, and operations, and it operates the global services and backbone from the group. So everything that I talk about applies not to the national network, but to the international backbone, right? We do B2B products, so our customers are not home users. We don't have millions of customers. We have a few hundreds, a few thousands of companies and businesses, from banks in Spain to Google buying capacity in South America and so on. So this is our area of application. And also very important for the talk and for the project is that we have an organization like this, and the chief operations was the guy sponsoring the project, and he manages all the people involved, all the different departments. This is very important because at the end, this deployment is a people activity, and you need to have everybody in line. And you need, we have needed very strong support from the top to make it happen, because you have to break a lot of resistance. You have to change very many things as they were done before. And if you go the same path in automation, you will discover that people and legacy are one of the challenges to solve. The network, for those that like these big maps with cables, is what you would define a sparse network. It extends, but it has like 500, 600 nodes all over the world. So it's not very, very dense and thick with subscribers and so on. It's long. We have POPs in very many telehouses and so on. And it correlates strongly with the Spanish-speaking market, the Latin America, Europe, where Telefonica has in O2 in Germany some points of presence and some international customers. And one interesting data for you is the commits per year is 120,000 times that the change has been applied to the network in different ways. So that's one of the metrics we measure our automation against. Also, the man in the right is our president, Álvarez Payete. He took over Alerta 3 years ago. He's a very digital guy, and he was a strong supporter and gave us a strong mandate to automate, transform, and so on. Also, without his support, that comes in the way of policy and also in the way of budget, which is very important. This kind of project cannot happen because it's very time-consuming and so on. And also very important, 2 years ago, we have a new change of a new director of operations. So the guy on top of everybody, he wanted to do this, and he wanted this to happen. Without this support, this won't work because there's a lot of friction. And what he wanted to change is the labor-intensive change management from the network, manual gathering of different parameters, the commercial request coming in parcel pieces, so the engineers in front of the console had to gather details and options and navigate through different sources of information to reach the final parameters. And also very important is to make it happen, to shift the budget from the OPEX to pay external people to CAPEX to do investment in tools. And then this is what allows it to happen. So we do what operators and big companies do. We did an RFP, and we awarded the automation tool to Cisco with TLF just freshly bought, so it was NSO, Network Service Orchestrator. For us, NSO is only this picture. We have a user interface, our own web interface, or the native one. We have a set of input parameters that come from the commercial order and technical order. We have some snippets of configuration fragmentation, some service logic, and then the NSO engine mixes everything, following the service logic that took time to develop, and then produce the configuration that is pushed to the network. This is a very simple approach, but that's what our automation does. So it's very important to have all the pieces in place. At the end, what it looks like is you move from the CLI and the configuration and the lines to the parameters you need to make it happen, what you get from the sales and the assignment and the inventory, what you need to do in the network, and it goes into a JSON REST, into a software-like operation against the network. So there is no command line, there is no set tool, there is no CLI language in there. That's the big transformation, and that requires everybody with the certification, with the knowledge and the legacy to start thinking on what information I need to make the change in the network, instead of what parameters exactly, what command line, what command option I need to use. Both are important, both have to be taken care of, but the guy doing the job doesn't need to know the commands exactly. So where we started, the start is very, very tough, because you don't know the journey you are going to get into. So there is an onboarding of consultants. In our case, we had the Cisco Advanced Services people with us, and it's a big bang explosion, because suddenly you need to know what you are getting into, so you need to train people in things that they don't understand at the very beginning. So it sinks into them as the project goes, what they really got into the training, how it works. It makes sense what they were told. It makes sense what they were shown, the templates, the fast mapping, all the options they heard about in the training. Now it starts making sense. Then you take a lot of years, in our case more than 10 years of services and configurations and customers and practices, and you need to raise that into actual thing to transform, and this is also very, very difficult. So we started with two lines: one track for commercial services, Layer 3 VPN and Internet Transit services, and another track for network operations, growth, planning, deployment of new equipment, deployment of new links, and all this stuff. So these two tracks were serving two different groups, the network group and the sales group. We also do some trials with some in-ground tools, and the BSS we have is Netcracker, but they were simply pushing config lines to the equipment. They couldn't do the checks and the simulations and so on, and we had very bad experiences sometimes. So that's one of the key reasons for NSO to be the tool of choice. Also, not coming with NSO, but to make it happen, we had ended with a set of new tools that we have to use, because when you turn from command into code, you need to have a place in which all the code is kept in sync, and everybody sees the same version. You need environment to do the tests for different people, so we end up with containers. You need to change the laptops and the tools the people have in the laptops to have more of a software development tool. And it was good to have a very good relationship with the IT guys, so they would put the compilers or the Docker engines or the virtual machines in the laptops, so people would have access to different tools. And then they could do development locally, have a pre-production environment, and then production environment. The less problematic of all of this was to deploy the tool itself, the NSO service itself. It was the easier thing. Everything else is the complicated stuff. The code, the versions, who is doing this, who is changing that, the components, the software libraries, the decision on what language to use, and so on. But at the end, this is the legacy. This is like when a city gets the Olympic Games. This is what is left over after the Olympic Games are gone. You have the Jira tool, the GitHub, and everybody else in different operations and different areas are starting to use now these tools. So this is a legacy for the future, and we are very happy with this, because it allows other areas to transform as well. Also, the way we have to do it is to change service definition. It sounds ridiculous, and I really, please keep it between us. But when you ask at the beginning, so let's automate a service, and somebody says, okay, let's start with RTVPN. What is a service? Nobody knows. The service, after 10 years, is a black box. Nobody knows the service complete. One sees the service like putting the hat inside, say, well, it has a long thing, and it has this parameter, this configuration, but nobody has a single source of truth. Nobody can tell what is Layer 3 VPN. We have to reconstruct from the ground up, and this is a lot of work. So you go out to automate something that you're supposed to be happening, and it doesn't happen. You need to reinvent, rediscover, and reset, and all across all the people participating. You need to make all the teams, the pre-sales, the service definition, the technical, the planning, the architecture, the operators, you need to synchronize and say, make them all agree in what is the service, what do you need to provision it, what do you need to change it, and how it's done. And this is part of the effort, which is not technical, but it's that requires a lot of time, a lot of effort. 6 months, depending on how many years and how many things you discover on your way. Now we have more practice. Now we know that we have to do it every time. So now when we say, now is time for, I don't know, Cloud Connect, now we know what we have to do from the very beginning. So now everybody knows, everybody has to produce, and we have standardized on a set of templates and documents that need to be produced before contemplating automation. Without these documents agreed, it's no sense to start programming, because you program something, and then somebody says, but I need the order in the description, or I need an email to be produced. Say, why didn't you say that before? Well, I don't know, I didn't happen to, and well, it's different. And also, it's the ultimate sentence, right? When you fix something into code, it's like fixing something into stone. It's like the laws. You cannot just say it and put it in a Word document and let it go. It's fixed, so it needs to be right. It needs to be precise and cannot be ambiguous. Any ambiguity is avoiding conflict. It's a conflict push downstream to the guy in front of the CLI that has to take decisions, or the guy in front of configuration that has to take a decision. And this is not good, because the right moment to take the decision is when you plan, when you define, and when you set. This, I know everybody in the industry for some time have heard over and over. Maybe one needs to be Elon Musk to be taken serious in your organization, but that's the sad thing, that all of you know that things are important to do in the right time, but there is usually no time to do this at all. So at the end, yeah, we end up with the services defined with the data model, with a golden template, with a strict variable list and definition, with a VCU view of what's the service logic. And in all of this, the Cisco team that worked with us, we all kind of learned that together, and we agreed on that. They help a lot with the other experience they have in other customers, and that's what seems to be the best practice and spread across all the market and customers. And yeah, the most important lessons here is that there is no space for ambiguity. Anything that is ambiguous will bite you downstream. So from the implementation and software engineering, which is something new for many people not doing software engineering, we had Cisco as the early implementations kind of build, operate, and transfer, so to kickstart our experience. They have a very long pipeline, because the specification is that locally, in our case in Madrid, then they work with the back office and they ship code to India, and then it comes back, well, India or whatever. So it's a long pipe, but it's good and effective. But we have limited bandwidth and money. So we needed to own the kitchen and not just going it out. We set up to do ourselves things in Python instead of Java, because it's less, you do more things for networking, less with the Java itself. And then the only thing we need to work more on is the testing. So the legacy of the project is the environment. We are happy with having the developers with tools in their laptops. We have people internally, employees trained and with knowledge. And that allows for ownership of the code they produce and the tools they use. As the products, we have products for the backbone operations and commercial services, and a long pipeline of things to come. And also, very important is the people. We celebrated when everything happened for the first time at the end of last May. It was the first test in real life, and it was a maintenance window in the morning, and everybody was very happy. This is from the NOC as Donald Trump would say, beautiful, beautiful building in Gran Via in Madrid, and everybody was very happy that it happened. There is a nice mix of the team, people from Cisco, people from us, etc. Where we are now is we have these numbers as an example. Integrating a new router, we've gone from 4 hours to 7 minutes. The BGP full mesh from 2 hours to 50 seconds. Some configuration of trunks, 45 minutes to 2 minutes. That's the real stuff that is happening now in our case. And some hard lessons learned from our experience, as long as they serve you, is if you can start simple, start greenfield, everybody has a brownfield, but if you can avoid it. The service definition is a long chain. You are going to review how the things are done, and you need to prepare for that. Cleaning the customers is 10 times harder than defining new services. There is a strong change of culture and tools for people not doing software, but you need to get into that. And if you walk around here, everybody is talking about these things. And get support from your boss, the higher the possible boss. And support is real. In our case, it was weekly following of the project. It was very hard, but it was the only way to ensure that everybody that had to do something would do something. Okay, my timer is off. So any questions?
Why Python and not Java?
Because we spend more time fighting the Java compilers and environment than doing real code. So at the end, the Java is more of a programmer's environment. Python is more simple. We had new trainees from the university. They had experience in Python, and the time to start producing code is simpler in Python. So,
any more questions? No? One more.
So this whole process methodology you developed for this, has it been in use in other departments in Telefonica, and which sections? So are you having repositories of code, software development outside this environment?
Outside the network practice, yes, but only limited to TUs, to Telefonica International Wholesale Services, only to our company. So the voice people is using that, the security people is using that, the IT, our own IT are using that. The Jira and the GitHub is shared by everybody within the company, but it's not done by the Spanish company, the Colombian Telefonica, the O2. It's not. It's only us so far. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we'll go straight into our next session. Thank you ever so much.